It's the Giro. Oh, yes. This is it. This is it. This is the important one. The tour's important and the world's important, but let's face it, it's the first Grand Tour. Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, because I presume there's going to be quite a few new people, you're probably going to need some guidance. If you don't know, this is How Do Cycling. This is the place to go if you need some Velogames advice. I am the place to go to. I'm the expert. It's just the way it is, okay? Pretty much the only person on YouTube who makes this kind of content, so I guess de facto I am the guy. As you can see on screen right now, I haven't even selected a team yet because I wanted this to be as, you know, just as raw as possible, just my opinions coming straight off the bat. I have looked at the riders, I'm not just going into this blind, but all-rounders. Telling you right now, Bernal for 24 is too much. Bernal is not a nailed-on person to win this race by any means. And I think with 24, we've seen riders at price 24 before. That was Froome back in 2016, 2015. It was Roglic at Grand Tours. Bernal just isn't that kind of caliber. If I were you, I'd be picking Remco because he's just super dangerous. And let's face it, so many people are going to be picking Remco. Do you want to be the one who doesn't have him on and then being scared all the time that he is going to do something? I'd probably pick Remco. Your other option for all-rounders, there's a lot that I'm very approving of a lot of these guys. You've got the guys towards the bottom who are more of the breakaway riders. You've got the guys towards the top who are the GC guys. I think Buchmann's quite unproven, as is Sivakov. I like Zhao because, let's face it, if he does well in the first time trial, then he will get you GC points every day, more than somebody who doesn't have a good time trial. So Zhao by stage 10 could have more than 200 points just from GC, rather than somebody like Buchmann or Stivakov who might only snag you 100. So Zhao's just going to get you more points in that way because he's good at time trialing. Alternatively, you can pick like Mollema if you wanted to try get an expensive rider on like Bernal or Yates like this. Now I'm going to go through. This is one team that I've kind of thought about using, but I'm not absolutely definitive going to pick it. So the other rider that I'd put in this category here is, if you look down towards the 6-pointers. Now, I've seen some people saying, who are you picking here? Oh, none of them are particularly good. I'm telling you right now, this Jefferson Alexander Capeda guy, he came 5th of the Tour of the Alps, and he is legitimately super dangerous for 6 points, and he is underpriced, and you need to put him on your team. The likes of, and don't be put off because he's 6 points. Don't think, oh, I need to pick somebody who's a bit more. Right, I picked Fausto Masnada in 2019 when he won a stage and he came 3rd and 2nd on 2 other stages, and he came 2nd in the mountains points like classification. Guess how many points he was? 6. And he rode for the same team. Therefore, I'm seeing the same kind of thing over again. Sprinters, Sagan for 16. Yeah, by all means go for it. Caleb for 14. Again, good value. Merlier, yeah, he's good. Nizzolo, yep. Don't pick Gaviria. Don't pick Viviani. Don't pick. If you're going to pick a 6-pointer, go for Max Canter. 8-pointers. Honestly, all of them are pretty good. Groenewegen, yeah, he's just a bit questionable, to be honest with you. I think if I were you, instead of going for Groenewegen, I'd go for Decker. Same team, more than likely, I think Decker will be their guy. Or if you can try and save a bit, go for Nizzolo. In my opinion, Nizzolo is a bit better than Merlier. Merlier has more speed just on a flat sprint, but Nizzolo's got that versatility where he might get over some of the lumpier stages, which means that overall I think Nizzolo could actually challenge for the Ciclamina jersey, which again is going to get you more points at the end. So I'm going to try getting Nizzolo in. Now, in terms of unclassified riders, there's only 3 8-point riders: Cavagna, Ganna, and Ulissi. In my opinion, I'm going to stay away from all of these guys. Yes, Cavagna is very good, and I think that if you're going to pick one of these guys, go for him. But I reckon he'll just be on like marshalling duties for like Remco and Zhao in terms of GC. Therefore, I just don't see him getting that many opportunities. He'll get the time trials by all means, but I think that you can get a good time trials for 6 points as well. And every 2 points matters in the Giro. Trust me, all the Grand Tours, it comes down to 2 points making the difference between your dream team and not. Ganna hasn't looked great. Ulissi, again, has come back from just like heart surgery and stuff. I think that he's probably not going to be firing on all cylinders just yet. 6 pointers, you have so many that I'm just going to save that until last. Go straight to the wild card. I'm thinking of picking 3 6-pointers here, which is going to cost 24 points. So that's going to put us up to like I think well, I basically want to put Lander in here. I think, yeah, we're going with Lander in there. So therefore we need a couple of 6-pointers to go in here. So 6 pointers. I'm just going to go down straight away and just say who I think yes and who I think no. Bettiol for the opening time trial. Bevan for the time trial and plus some sprint. He looked good at Romandy. Who else have we got? We've got Simon Carr, who's a good climber. Castro Viejo for assist points and maybe some of the time trials. Champasal for possibly GC. I think maybe he's in the wrong category, so an unclassified rider that could do well in GC there. Simone Consonic should probably be in the sprinter category. He's a bit more versatile than Viviani, so might contest in some more of the tougher sprints. Covey is probably the fastest guy that UAE have outside of Gaviria for those kind of sprints. You've got Thomas de Gent for the breakaways. You've got Alessandro De Marchi for the breakaways. You've got Dowsett for the time trials. You've got Matteo Fabro for GC and breakaways. You've got Kobe Gosens for breakaways. You've got Mikel Frolicanore, who got 3 top 5 finishes in this race last year. You've got Jorgensen, who's a kind of, I'd say he's more of like a puncher. He can climb, he's got a fairly fast sprint, so, but he's a neo-pro, like, you know, bear this in mind, this is his Grand Tour debut, so might not expect too much from him. Tanok Kanga is a very solid option, but I think that actually he's going to have less freedom here because he's working for Yates. Ricardo Manali as a sprinter. Mohoric, although I think he is going, the team is all in for Lander, so maybe avoid Mohoric. Rudy Millard, I read today that he's going to be their leader for FDJ for GC, so maybe like a top 15 in GC for him, and also going for stages, a really good option in my opinion. Definitely one of the highlights of the 6-pointers. Moschetti for a couple of sprints, but ideally, let's say there's 5 sprints, he gets like top 10 in each of those. That's about minimum 50 points each. That's 250 points. That's pretty good value. Moscon, I know people don't like him, but he could do really good on that opening time trial, and then, you know, getting a couple of breaks and stuff. I think that Moscon could actually be really good here. Kind of Navarez, I think, will be on more domestic duty, so maybe not. Luis Leon Sanchez for breaks, absolutely. He's a really good one to put on here. He's usually 8 points, so this is quite a bargain. Nick Schultz, I think, is looking great. Top 20 on GC, maybe assist points for Yates, maybe allow some of his own opportunities, especially on the puncher stages. Absolutely great rider. Nathaniel Tesfazion, fast finish for the Androni guy. You know, they're going to be looking for opportunities, so I'd say that he's a really good option for you. And then you've got Jan Tratnik for the opening time trial. Of course, he did a really good prologue at Romandy. A couple of breakaways possibly, but again, they're all in for Lander, so maybe not. Attia Valto, again, similar to Millard, will have lots of opportunities to get him a break. And Giovanni Visconti, the breakaway king of the Giro d'Italia, will surely get you some good points as well. So basically, you can pick any of those 6-pointers that I have just said, but if I'm going to narrow it down to a few that I particularly recommend, it would be Nick Schultz, Luis Leon Sanchez, Gianni Moscon, Matteo Moschetti, Alessandro De Marchi, Thomas de Gent, and Pat Bevan. Those 7. Pick any of those that you like. I think they'll all do really good for you. Honestly, I haven't quite decided which ones I'm going with, so therefore I'm not quite sure who to tell you. I'll just tell you those are the ones that I'm especially looking at. 4-pointers. Now, when you come to the 4-pointers, you're very much in a desperate state. If you can stretch to try to get a 6-pointer instead of a 4-pointer, please do, because I think the 6-pointers are going to be getting you a lot more points. But if push comes to shove and you need a 4-pointer, let me share some knowledge with you. Vincenzo Albanese for however you say that, the LO team or whatever it is, usually gets in breaks quite early on, so we'll probably snag you like 100 points or something like that. Aliotti, I'm not expecting too much of from the Grand Tour debutant. Bidard has done well. I think he's won the KOM jersey in the Vuelta, so that's a really good option as well. Cone Bauman, yes, they've got George Bennett, Tobias Foss, and Cone Bauman. Those are the climbers on the team, so he's got a pretty good shot of maybe getting in a break someday. I think he did really well in the Catalunya KOM classification as well. Emmanuel Guy Blegzabia, similar scenario track. You never got Niebly, but how great is he feeling? Will they allow more guys into the break? Possibly. Quentin Hermans is a puncher who could be there when Andrea Pasqualon is not, but that's a very specific scenario, so you're perhaps gambling a bit there. Who else have we got? If you want to go just for the memes, go for Ponomar, like this Ukrainian 18-year-old. Why the hell not? Although I wouldn't actually recommend putting him on, to be honest with you. Eduardo Sepulveda used to ride for Movistar, the Argentinian, pretty good climber. Probably getting the breakaways. Quite safe. Peter Seri, I'd say, is the safest, because if you think about the time trials that ever start, then Remco and Zhao will probably be up there in the pink jersey classification. Plus, De Koenig just have a really strong squad because they're backed up with Fausto Masnada and James Knox, which means that Seri will actually rake in a lot of GC point classification like assist points, and the team classification points, which means that he could end up with about 200 points just from assists and not actually doing anything else. So therefore, I think that Seri's probably your better option. Albert Torres is kind of a sprinter for Movistar, but honestly, like, I put him on, but in the past he hasn't really done that great. One which people don't know about would probably be Lars van der Berg. I think this is a very sneaky one. He's the guy who's replaced Pino, and he's a puncher, sprinter kind of guy. And with FDJ without a solid leader, who will be given opportunities in the sprint, I would not be surprised if he picked up a couple of top 10 finishes. And if you're looking for a 4-pointer who might, get about 200 points, Lars van der Berg could be your guy. So, hang on, let me just put in. So my idea would be I put in a couple of these 6-pointers here like this, Millard, and where's another one? Where's Luis Leon Sanchez? Something like this. This would be a really good team. So you got Evenepoel, Lander, and Yates for the GC. You got Cepeda and Mollema, Demarchi, Mollard, and Sanchez for breakaways. Then you've got Nizzolo for the sprints. Really well balanced team, and it's one that I'm specifically thinking about picking. Honestly, it's between this and another team that I'll show you next. The reason why I'm not so certain about this team is Yates. I'm not sure if Yates is going to win this race. I think that he is probably the person to win this race. I think that he definitely is in with a really good shot of doing it, but he just always seems to fall apart in this race, and I'm not quite sure why. I've put him on before in this race and he's just let me down. I think he's just cried wolf too many times with me, which means that I'm going to swap this out. I'm going to put Vlasov in, and I'm going to take out Mollema and put in Zhao. Now, this team is something that I'm very keen about. Basically, when you think about it, I'm between the decision of who's going to get more points. Bauke Mollema and Simon Yates, or Alexander Vlasov and João Almeida. So that's the decision that I've pretty much put myself in. It's difficult. It pretty much depends on how many points Mollema gets from breakaways, but banking on breakaways is a risky business. It's either going to pay off big or it's not going to pay off at all. Mollema, I think, is a pretty safe bet for breakaways. I do think that he'll get in a couple. I reckon he definitely could win a stage, but is it a risk I wanted to go with? Zhao and Vlasov, barring any kind of injuries and stuff, should both be finishing in the top 10, and I think could both be raking in about 1,500 points. Say that Yates brings in about 2,200. That would mean that Mollema would need to get about 800 points, which is a lot. Like, even if he wins the Mountains classification, that's 120. If he wins a stage, that's 220. That's only about halfway, which makes me think that Zhao and Vlasov is the better option out of the two. If you wanted to go completely crazy, this is something else that I thought of. If you wanted to go really GC intensive, don't put on a big point sprinter, go with a 6-point sprinter. Then take off one of your 6-pointers, say just put Demarchi, put him onto Vandenberg or Seri, those are the two that I'm recommending. And then use those 8 points onto Capeda to get Hugh Carthy. Then you have 5 GC contenders. Evenepoel, Almeida, Vlasov, Carthy and Landa all on one team. That is the ultimate GC setup for this race. You are not going to find a better GC team out there. You can swap out a couple of guys if you so wanted to. You could put in Jai if you so wanted. You could, I wouldn't put in Evenepoel. I just think that this is a really solid team. If you wanted to put Buchmann in, by all means go with Buchmann. Take off Carthy, go with Jai. Or, if you don't want Zhao, go with Bilbao, then put Jai up to Landa or something. Then you could even put on those 6 points again, like that. You could go with something like that. It's quite modifiable in that sense. So I'm between the full-on GC team of 5 GC contenders, and then the teams of Mollema and Yates, or Zhao and Vlasov. Those are the predicaments that I'm putting myself in. I thought that I'd share that with you as to what's going through my mind when I'm picking a team like this. I'm going to try and avoid the 4-pointers if I can, but if I am going to have to pick one, I'm going Vandenberg or Seri. 6-pointers, you have to go back a little bit and see on all the ones that I recommended. But honestly, Millard, Sanchez, Schultz, Bevin, Moscon, those are the names that are really popping into my mind. Sprinters, either go, honestly, I'd probably say Nizzolo or go with a 6-pointer one and just go with a 6-pointer one or Decker. In my eyes, Sagan and Ewan. Ewan will probably check out before the end of the race and won't get into the Ciclamina competition. Merlier, similar. Sagan, quite overpriced for 16. I think Nizzolo is the perfect one in the middle. And that's about it. That's the advice that I'm giving you as, somebody who's actually okay at Velogames. If you have any questions, if you're new around here, please subscribe. That would mean so much to me. Message me on Twitter, put something in the comments, tell me who you're picking. I want to know. And of course, keep your mask on, stay safe, and enjoy the Giro. Ciao.